So, test something just real quick. See if this is working. We'll be up in just a moment. Are we all good? I think we're all good. Okay, I can see comments. Sort of. It's on the other side of the room, but I can tell if someone put something. Granted, I only gave the link to like 4 people because it's an experiment right now, and I want to know if it works so I can start doing it in the future. Let's see how the lag is. Looking at the screen. Still not seeing it. It's a good bit of lag, actually. Hopefully you guys can hear me alright. I tried turning up the sensitivity on my mic pretty high, so I don't know how that's going to affect anything. And it doesn't look like any pictures coming up, so I'm going to see why. It is indeed going. There it is. That is a good bit of lag. Hopefully it's not too bad. Alright. Alright, I'm gonna try this, see how it works. That should be pretty good. It says 2 are watching, so whoever else is watching, if that's Jacob or John or Andrew, post it in the comments. Hopefully I can see it live. I have no clue if I can or not. But I'm about to start working on Jacob's SIG. Let's hop up. Alright, what do I want to do first? Cleaning. Alright, as you can see, I've already taken the gun apart. The gearbox is in pieces, and a lot of pieces. I already don't like version 3 gearboxes, and I can actually hear it coming through the headset. I don't want audio coming through the headset. So I'm going to mute that so it's not all echoey. That'd be bad. There's 3 watching now, apparently. Okay. I'm going to check something. Let's see.
As you can see, I've already taken the gun apart.
Video manager.
The box is in pieces, a lot of pieces. I already don't like
live events.
version 3 gearboxes, and I can actually hear it coming through the headset. I don't want
Edit.
audio coming through the headset. So
changes.
Okay.
And control room. Okay, I think we're good now. I can still see things. It looks alright. I think I did it right this time. Alright, so version 3 gearbox, SIG 556 by Cybergun. Lot of nasty grease. I hate this already. Putting all the parts that I hate off to the side right at the start, so this whole thing can go over there. Wimpy spring. Let's see. How's this bucking? The bucking's actually, it's not too bad. It's a W bucking, which is surprising for a stock gun, but it's old. This gun is about 2.5 years old, I think, from what the owner has told me. It might even be more than that. And I just got a ding. So I'm going to see who's dinging. Jacob, you can post it in the YouTube comments if you're watching. You don't have to send me on Facebook. If it's working, I should be able to see it on YouTube.
It's not too bad. It's a W bucking, which is surprising for stock.
If it's working, which I have no idea if it is, because I've never live streamed on YouTube. I do on Twitch, but never on YouTube. Alright. It looks like everything's turning alright on the stream. I'm going to try and move everything over a little bit, because the camera's not perfectly centered, because of the way I have to set it up. Let's see.
Jacob, you can
I do not need these.
the YouTube comments.
It's playing that audio again. I thought I just muted that.
If it's working, I should be.
Do not be playing audio. It'll echo. Alright, tappet plate. Let's see, the wear on it. There's a little bit, but no damaged spots. So, that should be alright. It's not the clear plastic, so I'm not too worried about the durability of it. Keep that with the hop up. I really need to clean this gearbox shell out. Ugh. Alright, so it is older than that. So, this is an old gun. So I'm actually surprised that I don't see more wear on it, but something that I did notice, the cylinder head, there is no practically dampening on it, so it's taking the force of that piston with every single pop, and it's taken some beating. Plus the O-ring on that is a piece of junk. You want at least a double or a wide ring for a proper air seal. So these things are junk. I've been through enough of these to know that I don't like them. And it just popped straight out of the cylinder. It wasn't tight in there at all. And this is an unported brass cylinder, which makes sense because the inner barrel that comes in the gun is a 455 millimeter. I believe it's a 6.06 or 6.07. It's whatever they used for an inner barrel long time ago as the stock barrel before tight bores and everything else started coming into the woodworks. Talk about the piston. Cheap plastic piston, one metal tooth in the front. The back tooth has taken some massive damage just from where, like, I always remove the first tooth so allows better angle of engagement, and it can actually engage with the piston a lot better. But yeah, this whole back set of teeth right here has taken a lot of beating, so that is a big concern. I recommended an Angel Custom Thor aluminum piston because this is going to be a more durable but powerful build. If I know that the owner's playstyle right, he likes probably a little bit longer range than CQB, but we still want something that can be used in CQB, so we're not building a semi-automatic sniper. This will still be a fully automatic gun, and I won't actually be putting any upgrades in until after I receive the parts from the owner, Jacob, who is, I believe, he is watching. So I'm waiting until I can get that, and just while I'm thinking about it, air nozzle, no inner O-ring. It slips on the air nozzle, and there's like barely any resistance, meaning there's not going to be a good air seal there, meaning a lot of FPS loss in that little part right there. I'll talk about why I don't like this spring guide. There's no ball bearings. It's plastic. It's a cheap plastic at that. And then the little washer that they have that the spring is supposed to sit on, it's practically glued to the back of the spring guide with all the crappy grease that they use. See, I pulled it off, but it was stuck to it. And then an example of what a proper spring guide looks like. Let's see if I can get it out. Now this one is one for a version 2 gearbox, but you can see the plastic is a lot more dense than the plastic on this. It's actually a little bit longer, which is always pretty good. And then it actually has this ball bearing system that the spring sits on, so it doesn't bunch up or cause any problems with that. But those cannot be used. Well, they can with modification. They can be used in a version 3 gearbox, but with a version 3, the difference is these tabs on the end here on a version 3 are a lot wider to fit into the slots in the gearbox, whereas a version 2, those little nubs are a lot skinnier to fit a much smaller space. A few concerns working on a version 3. This is my first version 3 I've ever worked on. Thought I just saw something come up on my computer. This is the first version 3 I've worked on, and something I noticed right off the bat, all the parts, I'm not sure if this is just the SIG or if this is a lot of version 3s, but there is a lot of parts for like a sector, or not a sector, but a selector. The selector fire switch for this thing, as well as the trigger mechanism. It all seems extremely complicated, and a lot of it seems unnecessary. But I'm also used to version 2, version 6, version 7, and now whichever version an M249 gearbox is, as far as Tokyo Marui compatibility. Those are the only real gearboxes I enjoy working on and know how to work on because I've been doing them for so long. But as in most techs, the one I am most familiar with is the version 2. And that can be even modified version 2s. I have 2 scars of my own that I work on, and they have a modified version 2 gearbox. And I realize it's weird not seeing my face and just seeing my hands, but the way that the camera is, there's not really a better way that I could show what I'm doing at this moment. The whole reason why I'm even working on this gun was because when he pulled the trigger, or Jacob the owner, when he pulled the trigger, it was starting to make a grinding noise. And that grinding noise, I found out when I opened it up, was that the motor would sit inside the grip and attach, it would be like this, and this would normally be attached to the bottom of the gearbox, and the motor would go up in it. But the problem was, this piece was not actually tightened down on the gearbox, so it was shaking all over the place. And I'm actually really amazed that there's no wear anywhere on the bevel gear. There's no teeth broken, there's no wear and tear. Neither is there wear and tear on the bevel, the bevel gear. Or not bevel gear, the pinion gear, sorry. So that is really surprising from what it was causing. It just shows that those are pretty strong teeth, which is a good thing. I did not recommend a new set of gears just because the one he has, there's barely any wear on them, which is really surprising for how old the gun is, but it's also a good sign that they're going to hold up for much longer. We're going to be upgrading it to an M120 spring with a bore-up kit and a few other modifications, a new motor. That's if Jacob chooses to do it all. It is his call, it's his money, it's his gun. He can choose what he wants to upgrade. I chose him why I would do certain things over others, so it is his call, and I need... Where is my cleaning rag? I have no idea. Is it on the other side of my desk? I'll be right back. I'm gonna go grab some cleaning supplies. Okay, I have some cleaning supplies, and I need my gun grease. I like this lubricating oil, hops. I got it from Dunham's. It is just a normal silicone-based gun cleaning lubricant. It works best because it's pretty much silicone oil. I just find it to be a little bit more fine than what you buy that's like meant for Airsoft, so I tend to like it better. We are going to start cleaning this gearbox all the way through. I really need to get that trigger assembly out of there, so let's see, where is... I like doing it this way just because I have a lot more control over it than with a screwdriver, and none of these screws are so far tight that I have to torque it a ton to actually get it out, and I have a lot more control with just something like a normal screwdriver head than I do with the majority of other things. And I can't tell if that wire is actually soldered on or if it's just sitting on there, so I'm going to see if I can get this trigger out of here. There it goes. And remove the cutoff lever with the spring. And I'm going to remove this spring from the selector plate. Yeah, right now the wires are fixed in, they are indeed soldered, so I'm just going to have to see if I can move this out of my way while I'm cleaning. I can't actually take it off because of the wiring situation, so I'm going to clean as much as I can. I'm going to get these bushings out of here. It's nice to know that this old gun does have metal bushings. I wasn't expecting that from a Cybergun product, even though they do have a few good things. I own their Chicago typewriter Thompson, and it was okay, but there's a reason that I didn't think a Cybergun product wouldn't have anything better, because that Thompson was fairly expensive. That's just the trigger contacts. I'll probably clean those before I finish this work. So now we're just going to start wiping all of this nasty Chinese grease out of the gun. Trying to get as much as I can. and then I'll go in with a Q-tip and get the parts that are in a lot of corners and places. There's now the other half of the shell, and there's a lot of like grease deposits all throughout this thing. They're just built up within the corners of it, and I mean you'll see that a lot on Chinese guns. I mean you'll see it on Taiwan guns and plenty of others too, but the majority you're going to see them on is China-based airsoft guns, just because they pretty much all use the same kind of grease, and it is all nasty. I mean, people think it's perfectly fine to have because, I mean, their guns have worked for so long. And, I mean, really, you can get lucky with it. You can either be fine and it can work perfectly fine and not have any problems, or you are risking a lot of performance for how junked up a gearbox is. You'd be surprised if you clean all that stuff out, put some good silicone or Teflon grease on the gears, and just then rerun it, it'll feel like it performs a lot better. Some might not, but the majority that I have done personally, I have all seen an improvement in performance over these standard Chinese garbage grease. I plan on doing a couple more of these tech work streams, some on some of my own guns, as well as I'm going to try and start doing them every time I work on a gun owned by someone that I know, so like someone who pays me to work on their guns or a friend of mine or anything like that. I'm going to try and do a stream just so they can sort of get an idea what all I've done to their gun, and it's not a lot of guesswork. I mean, I don't have any trust problems with any of the people I've done work for before, but I feel like maybe they need to just understand more of what is going on when I talk about stuff, because it's difficult being the only tech in the area, and when I mention something, no one has any clue what I'm talking about. So maybe these videos will help change some of that. Granted, a lot of this stuff I can't really explain. It's just something you have to know and practice with and everything else, which is why if you are not an experienced tech and you are not good with taking things apart and learning how they work and very carefully dealing with small machinery, I do recommend you find a professional tech who has been doing it for a while and get them to work on your gun, because when I first started playing Airsoft, I tried to work on my own gun. It was a Classic Army Scar at the time. The old ones, not the new sport line Scars. The old beefy Scars that were like $400 when they came out. Thankfully, I got it from I got it used, and something went down, so I tried to open it. I put it back together, and I put it back together exactly the same way I found, but it turns out there was a minuscule spring connected to the anti-reversal latch, which if you're a tech, you'll know what I'm talking about, and that was missing, and the next thing I knew, I tore up a lot of parts in my gun, because when it vibrated, it shook that anti-reversal latch around, and it moved it right into the gear, and there was no spring to keep it from doing otherwise. So I had to buy a new gear set after that, because I completely ruined the anti-reversal latch as well as the bevel gear. And that's just, it's a lot of things like that. There's a lot of tiny, tiny pieces, and it really depends on what kind of gun you have, for one. Because I've worked on some version 2s that are pretty standard, like a JG or, JGs and D-Boys, Classic Army, and an Echo 1. I've worked on all kinds of M4s, a GNP, they're all pretty standard, and then when I got my new VFC Scar, everything changed. Because the wiring system was completely different. I had to figure, I had bought a MOSFET for it because I planned to run, and I already do run it, and I did it, but I had to figure out a way to custom mod the wiring situation. And for those of you who know about the VFC Scar, it has a wireless system in the hinge that allows it to fold without any wires protruding, but the battery system is also held in the stock. So I had to figure out a way to get the third active braking wire from a full-featured MOSFET. It's the gate 3.2 or 5.2 MRF or something like that. Because it's one of the new MOSFETs that actually turned out to be really nice. It's one of the ones that you can program burst fire and things like that on. But I had to figure out a way to wire that into the current wire system, because I wasn't just going to rewire the entire gun. I liked the wires in it. They were good wires. But I had to custom modify the body in order to get the wire to fit without causing any snags or breaks in the wire when I tried to maneuver with it and close the stock and everything like that. And I finally figured out a way to do it without affecting the performance of the gun or affecting the reliability or strength of the gearbox. And long story short, it wasn't easy, and had I not known what I was doing ahead of the time, there's no way that I could have done it. So, and I mean, I've been doing tech work now for almost 2 years. It'll be 2.5, I think, in August or September. So, I mean, I've been doing tech work for a little bit, but only recently have I finally gotten to where I can call myself a pretty decent tech, at least for this area. We are in Tennessee. There's not a large majority of techs other than those of you who know Nashville Airsoft. And Nashville Airsoft, like, I've seen a lot of their tech work. I'm not the biggest fan of it, to be honest. There's a lot of things that I've seen that have come out of Nashville Airsoft that I don't agree with, and things that they have recommended that I know don't work the way that they say they do. And I realize they are a professional company, and their techs are technically professional techs. But I mean, if you know all the tricks and everything to working on a gearbox the right way, then you can do a lot more for people for a whole lot cheaper. Because Nashville Airsoft will charge you almost, I think, $60 just to open up your gun. That's not even to do any kind of work to it. And Airsoft GI and Evike and a lot of other places, there's similar pricing on their work. So I can see why a lot of people do try and work on their own guns, because I had to. There was no way that I had that kind of money, and I had to learn what I know through a lot of research and everything else. I'm just trying to get the majority of this grease off. As long as most of it comes off, that's fine. I just don't want any globs of it anywhere. That's what I'm trying to get rid of, and then I can start focusing on the full cleaning. Like, this cutoff lever is completely junked up, as well as this tappet spring. All I'm doing is I'm taking the pieces and taking a piece of paper towel and just rubbing them around and trying to wipe off all of this grease. Just so I can not have to worry about any gunk buildup or anything like that. I think that's all the parts. I mean, I don't know why I'm cleaning the piston and stuff, because I'm guessing Jacob planned to get some new parts, and I won't be putting this gun Well, I mean, unless he tells me to, I won't be putting it back together completely until the new parts come in, so that I don't have to take the whole gun down again just to be able to put the new parts in. It'll be easier if I just put all the parts in a bag or in a organizing thing to keep it separated from any other gun projects, because I have one that's coming in later sometime this week. I'm going to be working on my friend Andrew's M4 and basically getting it ready to be converted into using a LiPo battery. So we're putting in new wiring. He has a Burst Wizard Super 2 MOSFET by King Kong. We're going to put that in there. And then wiring it over to Dean's. So everything should go pretty smoothly. I'm not too worried. I've got my last week of college coming up right now. So I've got a good bit of time this week to do stuff like this. And I'm going to try and get one of my guns that's down right now, my old Classic Army Scar. Well, the body of a Classic Army Scar. Everything on the inside is completely custom, because I wanted to build a nice little light machine gun out of a Scar, and so far it's going pretty good. But my main gun is my VFC Scar, my custom G3, and then I've got a few backup guns that I do play with. JGM4 with a Mad Bull 601 inner barrel in it. I'm not the biggest fan of running a 601 in an assault rifle because it seems to jam, but I use the Elite Force BBs. I also use the Matrix BBs every now and then, but I haven't had a jam with either one of them on a 601 barrel, so I am perfectly fine with that. But I found that the Elite Force it seemed to go better. I was much more accurate, and they went a little bit further. I used 0.25 gram BBs, so they went a good distance out. And I would really like for this wiring to be silver wiring, but it is not. It is copper, and it looks like so is the trigger assembly contacts. I much prefer silver. Silver is the new way to go as far as airsoft electronics go. I mean, if you're not using silver wiring, you really need to upgrade. It's a lot less resistance, and it makes the gun run a lot smoother. I think, at least. You don't have to worry about cleaning your trigger contacts as often, because I can see a little bit of burning and arcing definitely happening with this trigger contact, but it's still in pretty good condition. It's not serious, but I can definitely tell that it has happened just from where all the rough spots in it and black marks and everything else is in the trigger contact. But those aren't too hard to clean. You can just dip them in a little bit of acid or vinegar. I found vinegar works pretty well. And it does the job on cleaning trigger contacts, definitely. I don't know how I feel about the version 3 gearbox yet. It seems there's so many unnecessary parts about it, just as far as how like the trigger fires, and I realize the design of it as far as stability and durability of it, it is way better than the durability of a version 2. I've seen a lot of version 2 gearboxes crack, and it's not fun for anyone. I've cracked a couple myself just trying to push them too far. And if you don't have a dampener pad or a what's better known as a Zorbo pad, it's probably going to happen to you at some point if you try putting a bigger spring or a faster motor or anything like that. It probably would crack it. A version 3, you don't have that problem because the main stress point is right here along the front. With a version 2, it's pretty narrow all down this point up until you get to about right here, then it gets thick. With a version 3, it stays thick up until up here. So it actually gets rid of a lot of the stress that's being put on the front of the gearbox when your piston fires. But the Zorbo pad would go right on top of your cylinder head as it fits into the cylinder. That's also how you correct your angle of engagement if it's off by a little bit. So really, when you have it in there, the piston would stick out just a little bit from what it normally would, and that would help the sector gear to catch it and pull it back with easier than it would if it wasn't properly corrected. So, I think what we're going to do next is I'm going to try and put back together the gearbox just so I can get an idea of how it's supposed to go back together. I have a pretty good idea because I remember taking all the pieces off and where they went, but I'm just going to make sure that I can remember it for when the next time that Jacob gets the parts in. That goes in there. I'm going to get the trigger in. I'm pretty sure it went like that. Just got to make sure. Let's see. Just so I can get an idea of how it's supposed to fit in there. Something just fell. I don't know what it is. Alright, so that goes in there like that. Am I missing? Ah, that's right. There was this. And it fits in there like that. And both of these fit in here just like that. So when you pull it, it rotates that little piece inward. When it does that, it pushes the contact forward. That is the tappet spring. There's the spring that I need. So that goes. This is going to be a little tricky. Yeah, I can already tell I like working on versions 2 more than I like versions 3. Just from what I'm already doing. There we go. So that spring goes in there like that. It goes up and over that little piece right there. And so when it pulls, it now pushes the contact forward, and it makes it pretty smooth. But I do need to get the spring back on the trigger, because if I pull it, it does spring forward, but not in the way that it's supposed to. So now I need to figure out where the spring on the trigger is mounted. I know it's on this bar, but I've got to figure out which orientation is correct, and I believe it's that way. Let's see. So it would fit in just like, I don't know if I can get it. I believe that's right, so it would fit up in there like that. It's being a little stubborn. I remember it was a pain to get out as well. These little springs are what you really have to look out for whenever you're trying to do this kind of stuff. That's not right. So I want it to spring back this way. So I need it just like that. And I need to fit it up inside there like that. Well, it went in the hole, but now this other one's not in. There we go. That's what I wanted right there. And now, when I pull it, the trigger springs forward just like it's supposed to. Good. Thankfully, the version 3 trigger, when you put it in place, at least for this gearbox, it stays in place, unlike a lot of the version 2s that I've worked on, where it does not like to stay in place. So that is a good little sign. I do need to clean the gears off, though. That is one thing I forgot to do. And the bushings, as well as the shims on them. Seeing that there's shims on the gears was actually a good sign for me. Just notifying me that they did take the time to shim it. Whether or not it's properly shimmed, I don't know, but I'm not going to worry about that until the upgrades come in, and then I will devote all the time in the world to getting this thing up and running. There's a lot of gunk on this spur gear. It is caked on both ends, all over it. It's green on the bottom. That's always a good sign. Not. I wouldn't recommend using any kind of loose or crappy paper towel just because it'll start breaking off and getting stuck in the gears, and then you'll have to clean them out even more. I like the higher quality paper towels as far as just wiping this stuff off. Works pretty well. I use this as well as these Q-tips. The Q-tips you have to be careful though, because if you try and use them too much, they will start to unravel and then get the parts in the gearbox. So I'm just going to put this shim back on the spur gear as well as this bearing, just so I can know that that shim is supposed to go there. There's another one for the top of the bevel, or no, the bottom of the bevel. No, top is it? Yeah, it's the top because there wasn't one on the bottom. Thought there was another shim. It was just a grease circle. For these first few streams, I'm going to keep the listing unlisted and then upload the video to my channel so that everyone can watch it. As far as live, I'm only going to keep it down to those I know, mainly the people whose guns I'm working on, and then a few other friends if they want to just talk while I'm doing this, because it gets fairly boring after so long. Because I've spent hours upon hours a night working on guns before, and it gets lonely, so that's why I'm going to do that. And then I will post the videos for public viewing later once the stream is over. And I'm going to be doing these as well as some gameplay footage once I get my camera in, which probably won't be for the next few weeks or months. It probably won't even be till near the end of summer when I can start making a little bit of money to afford said camera. Right now I'm just using a standard webcam that I found or didn't find, but I purchased a long time ago, and yeah, those were on those. No, there was none on the bottom, so these must have been on the top, and I didn't see them. You gotta watch out for stuff like that, shims and everything else. Just trying to get all this bad grease out of here. And I realized that the picture seems upside down. But there's not really a way that I can mount it the other way. So I apologize for that. It's really the only thing that I can do at the moment to record these. And I'm gonna re-shim them, like I said, when we get the new parts in, so it'll be much easier to deal with that then. But for right now, I am just going to put the gearbox back together so I can get an idea of how it's supposed to be put back together. I won't be putting the whole gun back together, but I can at least put the gearbox. Yeah, those already start to feel a little freed up from what they were. Never liked on the version 3 how close the sector gear actually got to the trigger assembly. It always just seemed to practically touch it. I mean, I know I've said this is the first one that I've worked on, but I have seen a lot of videos on other people working on theirs, so that's how I know that others are like this, and why I have had these opinions before I even worked on a version 3, and things keep falling and scaring the crap out of me on the other side of my desk. But see, with a version 3, and this might just be the SIG again, there's pieces like this. And it's only for pretty much the select fire on it. And I realize it's an ambidextrous selector, but you could have done something like the Scar did and just basically had a gear. I mean, it does have one of these, but had a gear like this, and then just had it attached to practically another set of gears on the selector, and then have it go. But it has to have all of these and this, and these. So it's a lot more hassle than it should have been. Which, I mean, I can't really say anything, but it is difficult. Oh, you got a grip? I think your comment sort of cut off after I will get a grip, some other stuff, and get the. It sort of cuts off after the. But that is awesome how you got everything. You are going to have one nice gun. I'm actually jealous of you because I've been wanting to get that Lonex Titan motor now for a long time, and I haven't had the money. I've been wanting to get one of them for my VFC because I love them things. They're so good. That's what Mikey has in his gun, and it is a beast of a motor. But with everything else, it is definitely going to make everything run a lot smoother. And really, the only thing you would need to do to be able to go into a LiPo battery is pretty much get a MOSFET for the thing, and then you would pretty much be LiPo ready. Now, one thing I do wanted to mention to you, because you are watching, I can convert the gun over into a Dean's connector, which would be really good for performance as well as battery life, because it's a lot less resistance. And if you put a MOSFET in it, that'd be even better. But I didn't put those things on the list just because they are not a necessity, and that would also require the purchase of a LiPo battery, a balance charger, and everything else like that. And that is an upgrade for a later time. Maybe not even during this gun's lifespan, but that is one of those things that's up to you. So, I'm going to start putting together the rest of everything. Everything else, once I get all the basics in, then it gets down to the more difficult parts that are not in normal gearboxes, and I was about to forget to put back in the cutoff lever, which is a fairly needed piece, because you need that in order to go to semi, which is why it's pretty needed. So I'm just going to stick that back on. And there we go. Let's see what the rest of your message said. It's... oh. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that very much. There's the air nozzle. Tabbet plate. This is the... well, no. What's funny is this gun has the same exact tappet plate that their Thompson has, and I actually did not degrease the cylinder head. So I'm going to do that before I forget. There's a lot of gunk up in the actual place where the air nozzle sits, so I want to get all of that out. Just take a Q-tip, go up inside, and clean that out, as well as sticking a smaller end of a Q-tip through the air nozzle, just so I can clean out the inside of it, which it did pretty well. Alright, so yeah, as you can see, a good cylinder head, it's supposed to pretty much be really tight in there, and I can just put it in and slide it freely. Well, except when I can't grab it. But a good one is supposed to just be able to stick in there and be very stiff to move. Those always mean you're going to have very little air loss, and it is going to be quite effective in air seal. Which is why you always want to make sure your air nozzle has the O-ring inside of it, making it an air seal nozzle rather than just an air nozzle. That would be the difference if you were not already familiar with that. Let's see. Yeah, I have the same pain with version 2 when I try and do this. Because I'm trying to get it into the track, and it pushed the cylinder nozzle up in there. I'll be happy when those parts come in, because that'll make working on this so much easier. New parts always work when installing so much easier. I've found this so many times. Come on. Go in. Let's see. There's a track that it's supposed to fit up into. And it is not wanting to go in the track. Mainly because this stupid air nozzle keeps sliding on me. Or not the air nozzle, the cylinder head. So what I'm going to try and do is stay on there. Trying to keep anything from popping out on me. It is not the easiest job in the world. I have to lift up on this just a little bit in order to actually have enough room. I need to put that spring on here just so I can actually get to it when I need it. That spring right there is what's causing my problem, so I'm just going to take this and raise it up a little bit just so I can actually get the tappet plate on the track. There we go. Beautiful. That's what I wanted. And then I'll just push that spring back down onto the center. Just like can't actually get it with that, so I'm gonna grab just my small Allen key so I can get up in there. Oh, that's actually too low. Perfect. Okay. Alright, that is in there. This is on. It is still functioning properly. Now, I need to... Where is my multi-tool? My multi-tool is in my other toolbox, so I'm going to see if I can do this with this Allen key. It's going to break that Allen key before I can do that. So, I need... just going to use one of these small Phillips head bits. Actually, do I have a flathead bit? That'll make it easier. I do. Just to grab the spring. Actually, I have pliers. What am I doing? There we go. Now that is on there. Tappet plate's going to try and come up on me, which I don't want it to do. You fit on your track, just like that. Good. Alright, that's on there. Okay, and I'm going to put the anti-reversal latch back in. A version 3 is actually, the concept matches that of a version 2 pretty similarly. The way that the position of the gears is, the way the whole cylinder assembly functions is almost identical to that of a version 2. Really, the only difference is the shape of the gearbox shell and the trigger assembly, pretty much. I mean, I realize there's little differences, like how the version 3 spring guide is slightly different from that of a version 2, but they do the same thing, and then they do it in the same way. They just might look a little different. So, that's one issue that's tricky to resolve when working on version 3s. Just know that you can't get the best of the best parts most of the time unless you search really, really hard for them. And they are going to be a little bit more expensive than their version 2 counterparts. At least from what I've seen, your results may differ. I really don't want to use this piston anymore because that tooth is really going to bug me. Really, I could probably take that second to last tooth off and it would fix it, but there's a tooth right after it that's also got a lot of wear on it. So I wouldn't even probably run the gun on this piston anymore rather than a test. So what I'm going to do is I am going to take that second to last tooth off with my Dremel. This takes a little bit of concentration just so I don't get it uneven anywhere. Alright. There we go. Much better. See, all I did was I dremeled off the second to last tooth just so it has a better engagement with the sector gear. This is a proven method. Most pistons actually come with that tooth removed now just because they found it to be better as far as structure. And any piston that is not, I always try and do that beforehand. Try to get rid of some of this dust off the piston. There we go. So, and yeah, this O-ring is extremely loose. This piston head has seen better days. It is beat up to no end. So we're just gonna stick it back. Actually need to rotate the sector gear around a little bit. So it just slides up in there. I probably won't put the spring in it just so, because I'm obviously not going to lose a spring, and plus I have a bin for that, and it'll be the only silver spring sitting in that bin. Every other spring I have is black. Alright, now that we've done that, I'm actually not going to put this, I'll put the spring guide with the spring. I probably don't even need to have the piston in there, but I'm just doing this just so I know how to put the gun back together. So I'm going to start with putting the shell back on. I'm actually going to clean the shell up a little bit. There's a little bit of grease on the outside of the shell from where it was pushed through when I was cleaning it. There we go. There's probably some on the other side of this one too. It's fixed in there. does not want to close. I'm going to guess because of the piston might be getting in the way and it's not setting correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the piston. Just to make sure everything is in its correct position. Which it is. Now just to fix any of the places. Why is it not wanting to fit back together nice and easy? What is preventing it? I would like to know. Wait, I have an idea. I bet that one set of shims I had on the sector gear was not supposed to go on the top of it, so we're going to remove those just to see if that was the cause of our problems. Which it actually doesn't seem like it was. Something is causing the gearbox to actually fit together completely. So I'm going to see if I can discover what it is so that I know what to do for the next time it happens. Oh, that would be why. The bevel gear is not actually sitting in the bushing on the bottom. That would definitely cause a problem like that, because it was just preventing the gearbox from closing. The anti-reversal latch is actually pushing the bevel gear up and out of its place. So now, I'm going to try this again. There we go. That's exactly what I wanted to happen. Alright, now it's all together. The seams are good. Air nozzle is moving. Trigger is going. Awesome. So that is now back together. And I'm just going to put the screws back in their places, just so I can keep it together as I'm working on it, because I want to learn more about the selector than I need to learn about the actual gearbox, because I know how the gearbox works, but I want to make sure that I know how to put the other pieces back together. That is a pretty big part of it. And I'm tightening these down, not to where I pretty much have to force it, but to where I can feel some resistance, and then about half a turn beyond that. Alright. That is now on. I can see everything is functioning correctly. I'm going to put all the little springs and other doodads. That spring is actually going to be quite a bit of a pain to get on there, from what I can tell. This is where a very small flathead screwdriver comes in handy. You can just take it and wedge it on, just like that. Alright, awesome. Got that. That slides freely because one of the pieces actually attaches to that, preventing it from sliding freely and to where the user can adjust it. Alright, I'm going to start getting all of these other little pieces ready. Actually, these go on the motor? Yeah, these are for the motor. I need to stick this back on. There we go. And we need, where is it at? Those are body pins. That is the lever for the body. That is a selector. Pretty sure. Is that one of the pieces that I need? Oh wait, no, I know what that is. Never mind. And then I'm gonna grab these. That was actually a selector piece. And now I'm actually going to reattach this, and I'm pretty sure that's the correct orientation. No, it goes the other way. Or does it? Nope, it goes this way because the little notch, just, I guess it sticks out at the end, which seems a bit odd to me. These were the screws that were loose in it, which is why it started shaking around and everything else. I pulled the thing out and immediately noticed that these screws were extremely loose, and this whole piece was shaking around. And this is what holds the motor, like, in place to keep it from moving against the bevel. And that is still a little loose for some reason. Let's see if I can tighten it down a little bit. It's a very minuscule movement, but I still don't like it. So maybe I can probably put some Teflon tape on it to where that doesn't happen. I don't like any kind of movement on a piece like this. That is where you run into problems. Just about every time. Yeah, those go in. No, they do not go in there. Alright. It is going to take me a little bit of time to figure out all the systems and everything else. I know that this goes on. Yep, gonna need some time to figure this out. Alright, so where is, I think there's a piece I'm forgetting to put in that might be the reason why I'm being confused. And there is the giant unknown piece that I had no clue what it was before. It fits in just like that. There's something that fastens it in, if I remember correctly. Oh yes, these. These fit in through here. There we go. And then this fits right on top. Just gotta find the notch that it connects with. And then remove the screw out of it. and it'll fit nice and snug. So when one turns, they both turn. This is that ambidextrous selector that I was talking about. And Jacob, if you're still watching, post in the comments whether or not you're right or left-handed and what you would choose to change your select fire mode with. Would it be your right hand on the trigger or your left hand on the trigger? That way I know where to actually put the remaining selector switch you have. I can swap it. They are swappable. I'm pretty sure, at least. So instead of not having a selector on one end, you can at least have it on the end that you want it on. Because that's what I had to do with my Scar. The similar thing happened. I had to move it from one side to the other, basically reversing everything. But it worked out just fine. Now, these get to attach. This fits on there just like that. And this goes on before then. The question is, where? Did I forget to put it on there before putting this on there? Because I have a feeling it points up. That is not the piece that goes there. This is indeed the piece that goes here. Because it would rotate and turn it just like that. Question is, where in the world does this piece fit on? I'm pretty sure it fits somehow up in here. I'm missing something. Is it on the other side? Maybe? Yeah, because something's got to be able to move this thing. Yeah, because this would be normally right here. And it would rotate to determine... No, because this thing slides. So... Did I lay a part down that I didn't realize I laid down? I might have to go back and check. Oh! Found it! This was the part that I was missing. Yep. Because this would go... Let's see. This part is the one that goes on the other side, I'm pretty sure. Okay, I can do that. It was on the right-hand side of the gun, but I can move it over to the left-hand side so your thumb can swap it as long as this is reversible, because it has this little tab here, but I don't think that tab means anything because everything's controlled by what's underneath, so it shouldn't matter. I'm pretty sure they're identical on both sides. It wouldn't make any sense not to have that. So there's a little notch this fit into. I wonder if it was inside the gearbox. I'm gonna have to check the video on that probably before I go any further. So while I'm doing that, I'm gonna put the hop-up back together. Wipe off the grease. Nasty brass inner barrel. It's terrible. Put the bucking back on it. This bucking smells like friggin' crap. I mean, the grease just smells horrible. Is that on there? Yeah, it's on there. Your inner barrel is pretty dirty. I'll probably have to... Well, you're getting a new inner barrel, so I'll clean this one too, but... Definitely needs a cleaning. Yeah. It's getting to that point. Put the clip back on it. And I realize I'm going to have to take this whole thing back apart. So, I'm not even sure why I'm trying to put it back together, because I'm going to have to go through the same exact thing again. So, I'm slightly retarded, but oh well. This is not an easy gun to work on, but it is definitely not the hardest gun I have ever worked on. I'm pretty sure that the either the G36 or the M14 EDR was by far the most difficult gun I have ever worked on. This is probably a close third, but that's just because I'm frustrated with it and parts are odd and it's a version 3. I don't like version 3s. I deal with them because I have to. Got it. I probably could have taken this thing off. This little piece right here is basically what makes this SIG a SIG 556. Just this little mag adapter right here. Just so you can use M4 mags. That's pretty much what converts a 552 or a 553 into a 556. Is in terms of airsoft. Is this one little adapter right here. I find that crazy. Everything else, exact same. So you can probably make any SIG gun compatible with M4 mags. Just if like anyone sold these adapters, because it screws onto it. It's not like attached to the hop up. It screws on and it has like its own little feeding tube and all that. Or I could really convert this gun to probably use like the normal SIG mags. But I'm not going to do that because the 556 STANAG conversion is already what you want. I've got to figure out where these parts go. It's going to bug me until I figure it out too. Because I'm missing something obvious, yet I don't realize it. And I have a feeling it's to do with it's either in the gearbox or it's underneath this black part. So I'm going to remove the black piece. Just so that I can get a better idea of what is supposed to be happening. Hey, I just figured it out. This piece goes, no, it's this piece that goes in here, but which piece faces up? I think that piece faces up, and it would be Let's see. That piece faces up. Where does this go now? My guess is it goes on the other side, just because we still need something that actually holds the dang thing in place. So yeah, that fits on there. Then, actually, I'm going to turn it so it can actually fit. Why is it not wanting to fit? There it goes. That would be safety, and that would be full auto. So that is the safety feature. Glad I figured that one out. Probably going to need that. Alright, so there's nothing else up underneath this black part. I'm going to go ahead and attach it. And I know these pieces, they actually just slip on when you're trying to get the gearbox together. See, now that is on there. It's on safety. It's off safety. On safety. Off safety. That is what that does. Let me grab my Allen key. Now to flip her over, let's see what we got on this side. We need to figure out the mechanism that actually slides this. And if I'm correct, I might have just figured it out. This goes in here like so, with that being attached, and it fitting up inside there. Yet it's supposed to fit better than that, so I have a feeling. Let's see. It fits in there. Just like that. And then once it's on here, then what? Because that is raised too high, so maybe what do we need to change? That definitely fits on there just like I had it, because that fits perfectly inside there, and there's a notch for the notch on it. So now, I just have to figure out how it actually goes in. Because there's no other pieces. But yet, it is a lot higher than the gear that's actually supposed to change it. Maybe that gear is in the wrong position. Or this isn't supposed to move at all, and it's supposed to be fixated right on there. Which I am almost positive that it is. So how would that actually work? See, this is half of teching. Because a lot of these things you can't find anymore on the internet. So you pretty much just have to figure it out with a lot of trial and error. That would be your select fire between semi and full. Because that is just moving the cutoff lever. I've got to figure out how this fits into here. It's something obvious. I have figured that out. I just don't realize what yet. And I think I just figured it out. Did I? I don't know. Maybe not. So we're gonna try this. Wait! Now I figured it out. Those line up. This goes in between there. On top of this, allowing those gears to line up. So when this turns, it moves the entire thing. And this would actually be pressed up against the gearbox shell, so that's why. There's also actually a screw that goes in there right here. So I figured it out. Good. It's actually not as difficult as I thought it was, which is always a good thing. I never like things being difficult. When things get difficult, it causes the problems. I don't like problems. Maybe this screw doesn't screw in. I thought it did, but or is this the wrong screw? No, it screws in. I'm actually really happy that I figured that out. Makes me feel good. Makes me feel smarty. This screw does not go here, so maybe I was right. And they do, wait, no, I know why this doesn't go here, because I don't actually have the thing in it. It does press fit up into the gearbox. That I was right on. And so with this on here, this would slide up on here, like so. So that would be safe. That would be fire. Oh, the thing came off. Let's see. So that is like that. My guess is that this is supposed to be up like this. And so this turns. It's semi. I'll align. Wait, yeah, these things align. This little line, I missed that. So now that I know how it goes back together, that is what I wanted to accomplish. I'm actually going to attach. I don't need to lose that spring. that is now all together. I'm going to put all of the loose pieces in a bag so I can remember where everything is. And when the parts come in, I'm going to get the new stuff set. And when we get the gun back together, I'll tighten everything down because Jacob was also having a problem with this, and this is how it attaches. It basically just screws on to the back of the gun, meaning it can twist if it gets loose. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to see, because there's no battery held back here, even though you would think there would be, there's not. The battery is held. You have yours wired to the front and in the handguard, which was weird to me until I actually took this thing apart and realized there is no way to wire it to the rear without completely modifying the crap out of it. Which I'm not saying I couldn't do, but I don't exactly want to do it. I'll take this thing off. I actually want to know what the battery compartment in the stock is like. Because Caleb, another one of my friends, had this almost identical stock on an old gun of his. So I just wanted to see if it was the same. And it is literally, there's no way to put a battery in this thing. Rather than taking the, I don't even think you could do that. That's ridiculous. Need to put this back on here. But you'd have to slide a battery up into these little holes and then somehow route the wire to nothing. I mean, this is a really, really pointless stock. Why would you try and make a crane stock if you weren't actually going to use it for something? I don't know. It seemed like just a big waste to me with this stock. I mean, it looks cool, but it serves no purpose whatsoever when it could have actually been pretty useful. So I'm just going to put it back on, tighten everything down on it, and then wait until the parts come in, and then I can do step 2. Since Jacob just ordered them tonight, they are probably not going to ship out until Monday morning. And then they will be on their way. That is now nice and secure. And I'll put all the pieces and bits together. I'm going to put these back in the stock. So, for those of you who want to know more about teching and everything, be sure to leave a comment below. Like I said, I'm going to be doing more of these. A lot of you are probably watching because you know me from Resurrection Airsoft. I am the guy with the guns, and most of you realize that, and I appreciate that you acknowledge me in such a way. It's not easy, I'll tell you that. But this is a new thing that I'm going to try and start doing on this channel. Since I have 2 channels, a gaming one and my Airsoft one. Both having Dcode in the name, just because I think I have a problem. But I'm going to be doing stuff like this. I'm going to be doing reviews of guns, of custom builds, recommended parts, going over some new technologies that come out, and all kinds of things. So if you guys enjoyed watching, Be sure to subscribe, especially if you know me and you want to be able to keep up to date on everything that I'm talking about. Be sure to hit subscribe. If you don't know me and you are interested in finding out more, if you live in the Tennessee area, I'm a part of a field known as Resurrection Airsoft in Cookeville, Tennessee, and it is a pretty good field. It's a lot better than it's no backyard field. It is a actual airsoft field in Cookeville. I realize if you live in Tennessee, you already know of Bad Karma. Bad Karma, yes, they have all the buildings and everything, but we have a good community of people. We normally get about 40 people on an average game day. We have a game day once a month, and we're trying to host some more off games, like every 2 weeks that in between a main game. We can't really host more than that because it is a private owned field, I should say. We are owned by the River Community Church, and it is their property, and we are allowed to use it. All the games are free except for the charity game, but that is once a year. So just come out. Rentals are available. I can answer any questions. I'm one of the core team members over there, and I can get you set in the right path with links and all that kind of stuff for waivers and all that. But if you guys enjoyed this video, I thank you for watching, for one, and I think that's going to be it for tonight. I might try. I don't think I'm going to be working on any other guns because I'm waiting on parts to come in for a couple of my guns before I can do any work to them. So, thank you guys for being here, and we'll see you next time.